Old-Fashioned Love. Chapter 3. Learn to be still. I squinted in the afternoon sun, wound up, and kicked as hard as I could. A single apple fell down from the branches, and didn't even come close to landing in the basket I'd set out for the purpose. Crab apples! I spat. How does Applejack do this? I gave the tree another kick, and only got a sore foot. She's a pony, for one thing. Dash's voice came from above as she picked apples up and took them into a burlap satchel she had made for the task especially. She can kick harder than you can. Plus, she's done it for that way for years, probably. I sighed, taking off my hat and wiping some sweat from my brow before putting the Stetson back. She likely gets a lot more done doing it that way too, I mused. Maybe if I tap in a little bit, just a little. Hey, I'm all for using that awesome magic and all, Dash said as she drifted down to me, hanging slightly head down with her wings creating a delightful breeze that smelled of a stormy night, of ozone and rain. But just don't expect me to help if you crack a tree. I hesitated. She was right. I could easily shatter a trunk if I wasn't careful about it. I reached up and touched my pendant, still in the habit of wearing it after the war. I felt the magic inside and tapped it, ponying up and feeling the rush of power in my limbs. Here goes nothing, I said, winding up and kicking the trunk with what I judged was half strength. The trunk shuddered and a few apples dropped free. It was encouraging. I wound up for another one, swinging a little harder. I heard the bark crunch under my boot and another few apples dropped down, but most stayed stubbornly attached. Consarn it, I said, kicking forward hard. Drop, will you? The cracking sound was louder, and I felt the impact all the way up my leg. I looked at the tree and winced when I saw a boot-shaped impression into the trunk. I knelt down and probed it with my fingers before determining that it would be okay. Apple Bloom drove up on one of the small tractors we had in a large bed, and loaded up the satchels from Dash's endeavours and my packings. She looked at the boot mark and glanced at me before starting up the tractor. Maybe you should try shaking it instead, she called out before driving off. I shrugged and gave the tree a hard shake, watching as the apples started dropping down. I still missed the baskets, but I had no problem collecting them. At least it didn't break, Dash said, wings furling as she landed. She held out the burlap sack to me and grabbed the other empty one before leaning in and giving me a kiss. Brief, but not lacking in passion. She winked at me as I stood there in a mild stupor, lips tingling. I'll get going to the next batch, Jackie, she said, wings spreading again as she took to the tops of the next batch of trees, the apples she picked being deposited into the satchel. I reached up and touched my lips. We had swapped kisses before, sure, but nothing had felt like that. I stood numbly for a moment, then looked up at the tree beside me and climbed the ladder to pick the last couple of apples left in the branches. I dropped back down just in time for Dash to set another satchel down onto the ground. I tell you what, I said quietly, let's take a bit of a break. Huh, if I didn't like you, Dash said, coming up and wrapping arms and wings around me. I smiled as I caught the word slip from my lips. Ever since we had gotten back, I had been hearing more of what the girls called country-isms come forth from her. I reached over and trailed a hand along her wings' primary feathers. Maybe you're just rubbing off on me, as much as I'm rubbing off on you, I smirked. It's not full harvest time yet. I must go and head out to the hill. She smiled as memories flashed up. The hill in question was one that overlooked one of the small ponds on the farm, a small willow capping the mound. It was also where we had shared our first kiss. It had been just a short while before that business with the harpies, and something that both made me smile and blush. As we walked, I reached out and hooked our pinkies together, a compromise for when we wanted to be close but were in public. Dash had been initially nervous about public displays, and not wanting to push her, I had suggested this. She twisted her hand, clinging my fingers with hers as we reached the hill, both of us settling back against the willow's trunk. The afternoon sun glistened on the pond's surface and a fresh breeze began to blow, rustling the willow's limbs. I gotta know, she began. What's with a desire for a break? That's usually my line. We could go back to work if you want, I countered as I leaned my back against her shoulder. She released her pony form, allowing for a more comfortable arrangement. That's fine, she said with a laugh. Just wondering what's up. Oh, I don't know. I said. Sometimes I just get to thinking about when things are when I work. Picking apples is pretty repetitive, so you have plenty of time for your man to work. I stared at the pond, feeling a sudden peace come over me. You're brash, headstrong, stubborn as a mule, and you don't think before you act, I said slowly. I love you too, she responded sourly. Let me finish, I smirked. Impatient too, I forgot that one. I kissed her on the cheek. But for every one of those traits, there are just as much positives as there are negatives. When it comes to your friends, you don't hesitate to offer help, and you never go back on your word. You may not always tell me straight, but you don't fail if one of us needs you. I saw her embarrassed blush from the corner of my eye as I sighed contentedly before continuing. Me? I said softly. I'm just as bad. I'm overly self-reliant, got trouble asking for help when I'm in a jam, and can be just as headstrong as a certain athlete I know. Okay? What I'm getting at is that we've got a lot in common, I said. But we've got things that we can also come together on. You've been getting a bit more dependable when it comes to hard work lately. You might be able to keep up with us on harvest time, actually. I leaned back, pulling her into my embrace as we watched the sun sink slowly, heralding the evening. But you're showing me that maybe, sometimes, I whispered into her ear as I brushed a bit of rainbow-hued hair back into place. We need to just lay back and enjoy the times we have, too. You're learning to buckle down and throw in, and it's high time what I learned to be still. We sat there for a short time before she sat up and looked back at me with a look that can only be described as wicked. We sat there for a short time before she sat up and looked back at me with a look that can only be described as wicked. You want to go for a swim? She asked. Rainbow, I ain't got a suit on, I said. Neither do I, she smirked, crawling up to me to plant another kiss that set me tingling. I felt a moan slip free, but I wasn't sure if it was from me or her. When I came to my senses, she was sitting on her heels, unbuttoning the work shirt she was wearing, her fair middle already showing. My hat was on her head. I grinned and started unbuttoning my shirt too. I can learn to be still later. Time to show her how a country girl does things.